Now, if you've been seen the
whim of a madman. I like that.
Woo-wee. Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. What's up, Jobu, as well as the Funky Chicken? And today, 5 o'clock, we'll get back to doing live streams. We'll be doing our members live stream at 5 o'clock. That's 5 hours from now. And we'll be talking about free agency. We know we'll have Momo in, blow-baiting about how great the Commanders are, although we were able to steal Dante Fowler back from him. And, of course, we'll have Leo blow-baiting about the damn Eagles that nobody here cares about. And we will catch up with your feelings and your thoughts on everything that is the Dallas Cowboys and the GM, Jerry Wayne Jones. So as we get here, here's the thing that may be interesting for us, okay? The Cowboys have done a polar opposite of last year, and we are expecting, basically we were expecting an all-in, as in the Cowboys are going to try and sign every big-name free agent. The talking heads out there get us all worked up and dreaming about getting players. Cooper Kupp linked to the Cowboys is a perfect fit. His daddy was a backup to Troy Aikman. His college coach is there, and it's the perfect fit for him. And then he gets a $45 million deal. 45. It's like, I'm good. Now I will say that Paris Campbell, that maybe we could have done a little bit better than that one, but Paris Campbell may be a camp body. Although I believe we have like 10 wide receivers on the roster right now. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's somewhere in that neighborhood. Now, the question will this be the day that the Dallas Cowboys don't actually sign a free agent? Because each and every day since legal tampering, they've signed at least one player a day. We'll wait and see if that does, in fact, happen. There are still some players out there I would love to have Keenan Allen. All my brethren out here and things have talked about Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is probably the best receiver that's out there right now, be it he is 32 years of age. Last year with the Bears, which were kind of challenged offensively a little bit, had 70 receptions, 10.6 yard average with 7 TDs. And not bad, and considering the year before with Justin Herbert, had 108. That was with Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, FYI. And 1,243 yards with 7 TDs as well. Could be a decent piece that could go for the Cowboys. There is Amari Cooper out there. I'm not sure that's one relationship to rekindle, as well as Tyler Lockett is out there. There are some wide receivers and things that are there. What was probably the best move the Cowboys made was correcting an error, which was bringing back Dante Fowler. Dante Fowler was a great rotational piece for us for 2 years and signed basically a $3.2 million deal with the Commanders and literally had almost a career year last year, having 10.5 sacks. The Commanders didn't re-sign him, and the Cowboys got him this year, brought him back, and is definitely going to help with our rotation. We would have been a better team had we kept him last year, as well as Stephon Gilmore. And, of course, we've had some rumors of Stephon Gilmore coming back to the Cowboys. Don't know if any of that's going to happen, but you have to say that Dante Fowler has opened the door for others to return, because somebody else you might be surprised would be Brandon Cooks, because Brandon Cooks ended up having the mysterious knee injury in training camp, where I remember being in Oxnard, and Brandon Cooks, it was announced, was going back to Dallas for an undisclosed reason early, in which case he appeared in 10 games but never was quite right, having career lows of 26 catches and about 290 yards of reception. So he's looking to rebound, and you can see the Cowboys possibly bringing him back on the cheap. no disrespect to Jonathan Mingo or to Paris Campbell, I'd take Brandon Cooks over both of those guys. But that's me. I would definitely take Keenan Allen over all of the above, and we'll see if the Cowboys do anything with this. The question here is, and again, we've had expectations of thinking that the Cowboys are going to sign the Joey Bosa's, make trades for Deebo Samuels and things, that the Cowboys would be making major moves. But I have to say, as we look at the moment here, the Cowboys, in comparison to last year, they've actually done a pretty good job in free agency. They've gone through and they've tried to bring quality backups and fill in voids. They have. And what they're probably looking at with the draft is to get the impact players and be in a position, and they will be in a position right now, to draft the best player available. The other part of this is you don't know what you don't know about players. Sometimes you can get a player who has not performed rather well or has been down for a bit that all of a sudden comes back. I will remind you guys of Darren McFadden. Darren McFadden, who seemed like he was a bust when he was with the Raiders, having 3 years in a row of 3.3 yards per carry. Let me look this up real quick. I want to make sure I've got it right. Because I want to make sure I give you the stats right. Because I used to have, back when the Cowboys' offensive line was what it was great, I had a formula which was basically the Great Wall of Dallas equals +1. So in his career, Darren McFadden averaged 4.2 yards a carry. And when he had his last 3 years in Oakland, he had 3.3 yards, 3.3. I was wrong. 3.4 his last year in Oakland. He came to the Cowboys, and behind that wall, ended up increasing his success rate by 10% and increasing his yards per average to 4.6, having 1,089 yards. Previously, the year before, only having 534. So sometimes, and again, that's a situation where the Raiders were just a bad team and their offensive line stunk. He came to Dallas at the pinnacle of the Cowboys' offensive line and did great things for us for that year. The next year, he kind of dropped back off a bit and was injured quite a bit because he only played in 3 games. Be that as it may, it is possible to see somebody who hasn't done a lot of great things be able to turn around. I can talk about Robert Quinn, his last year in Miami. Let me go back and look at this. Robert Quinn, whose last year in Miami, he had 38 tackles and 6.5 sacks. Not bad, but not anywhere near where he had been. You know, we're talking about a guy that was like 19 sacks at 1 year and several years at double digits. He looked like he was on his way out, and he came to the Cowboys and went from 6.5 sacks to 11.5. The next year looked like he was done with the Bears, having 2. Then turned around and had 18.5 sacks the next year. So it is conceivable that some of these guys, given the opportunity, are going to have a chance to go ahead and step up and possibly do better things. The thing that I worry about now is our locker room. Listening to D-Law, listening to Jordan Lewis and things. These are the things that make you wonder if the Cowboys, if the Cowboys locker room is fractured and can it be restored? And I don't have the answer for that. But while we get ready to get out of here, let's go to the structural flaw that is the Dallas Cowboys.
to deal in today. Graziano, set the table for me. Let's run the hurry up through some of the news that is out there, beginning with Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson visited the Cleveland Browns yesterday. He has a scheduled visit today with the New York Giants. Russell Wilson looking for a home, and both of those teams looking for veteran quarterback. So we'll see if that leads to Russell Wilson being signed any point soon. Of course, he is waiting to find out what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. The Giants, as well as the Steelers, have been in contact with Aaron Rodgers. They are awaiting his decision on what he wants to do. This could affect what happens with Russell Wilson. Rodgers, we have no idea on the timetable with Rodgers because it is Rodgers and it's all up to him what he wants to do and when. He may be holding out hope that the Vikings' interest becomes serious. Hard to tell, but there have been internal discussions in Minnesota about the possibility. And then wide receiver Cooper Kupp, released by the Rams earlier this week, has drawn a lot of interest from
He's already saw it. Boy,
this is the wrong thing. Reporting just before we came on the air that the Cowboys have shown interest.
Yeah, well, this is old.
I've also been told to watch Seattle. New England has checked in on Cooper Kupp, so we'll see where Cooper Kupp lands. He could have a decision in the next couple of days, possibly as soon as today.
Okay, so the Cooper Kupp to Dallas thing is getting a little bit spicy, but it is definitely taking
but while we're here,
for the spice.
This is what's funny.
Let's go. Former Cowboys defensive end Demarcus Lawrence, who was
always spice
that franchise for a period of time, had a lot to say about his former team after walking out the door. He spent 11 seasons there. Now he signs a 3-year, $42 million deal with the Seahawks. And in an interview in Seattle, he did not hold back. Listen.
Dallas is my home. I made my home there. You know, my family lives there. You know, I'm forever going to be there. But, you know, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. So, yeah. We here.
Okay. So now I'm listening. And so was Micah Parsons. And you know Micah is going to have something to say. He posted, "This is what rejection and envy look like. This some clown stuff."
Some clown shit is for sure.
Lawrence didn't let that one go unchecked. He responded, "Calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left." Oh, this gets interesting. Here we go. Yes, sir. A tea for everyone here this morning. There are so many different places that we can begin this. But let's start with this. My father was a lawyer, and he always used to say, truth is an absolute defense. You cannot be convicted of libel or slander if you can prove that what you said is true. Did Demarcus Lawrence tell the truth?
Absolutely, and he said the same thing that we've been saying for a long time here. You look at the Dallas Cowboys, and for so long they're focused on everything except winning. I think what Demarcus Lawrence was saying is, hey, in Seattle, I know one thing. We're chasing a championship, and he feels as though his 11 years, we can all say we want to say he was in the building for over a decade. And I think he feels that with Jerry Jones.
And we won what?
We're trying to grab attention and all of these different things, but we're not focused on the only thing that matters for a football player, and that's chasing a Super Bowl.
What do you think, Bart?
I mean, time is wasted on the young, right? And sometimes I used to always tell the rookies, like, one day you're going to be sitting in this seat and you're going to understand when you have people that's not serious about winning, because we don't have forever to play. So I need you to take my time seriously. And Michael Parsons right now is a young player. But at some point, Demarcus Lawrence was him. He was a young, gifted, talented player, and he's watched the sand run out of the hourglass, and Micah's going to be here as well. And I think he's echoing what I'm sure other players feel like, man, this dude always got something to say.
Malik Hooker said,
yeah, you're a great player, man, but just shut up sometimes. We don't need your commentary on everything. This is the new athlete that comes in, the branding. And you have to ask yourself, listen, do you think that Michael Parsons is now going to be the loudest voice inside of that locker room? Is this the right type of message you want to send out, that you're a Twitter thug or whatever that is?
So look, there's two separate parts of this. Micah, yes, we have all been critical of him. I don't really have a problem with him defending his own team, but I get that part of it. But there are really two separate conversations to be had. There's what Demarcus Lawrence said initially, and then there's the response involving Micah. Let's deal in the first part first.
Sure.
Dan, we have sat here saying, and by we, I mean me and practically everyone else who comes in here talking about how the Cowboys are about attention, they're not about winning. They're not really, they selectively aggressive and all in and all the different things that they have said. And that has all come from outside
Jerry has said.
the house. I'll never forget Michael Strahan on Fox when they lost in that playoff game 2 years ago, sort of issuing a plea to Jerry Jones when the game was over, saying, please stop treating this like it's a show. Please stop treating your players like they're actors. Please start treating this like it's a football team, like it's a competitive business as opposed to, show business, which we all understand that on some level it is, and that has made Jerry Jones a very rich man. All those things have come from outside the house. Now, I understand Demarcus Lawrence is now out the door.
Right.
But this feels like the closest it has come, to my knowledge, to coming from inside the house. The recognition that there are people in that building who realize what we're doing here is not really.
Now let me say, okay. You know what? If a podcast got players that are some of the top players of being pressures, and a guy that's gotten 12 or more sacks a season, I want everybody to have a podcast. And understand, it wasn't D-Law's choice to be in Dallas. When he says it basically, if you weren't doing a podcast, I'd still be there. Well, the Cowboys, it wasn't Micah Parsons who didn't offer you another contract. It was the Cowboys who didn't. I don't believe that Micah Parsons, maybe I'm wrong, is the one who's making the decisions on who is getting a contract offer. But go on.
Focused on winning.
You feel like you've heard bits and pieces of it, like Dalton Schultz, when he signed with Houston, talked about how the tours that went through and how distracting that could be.
Right.
But to come out and say, I know I was never going to win a Super Bowl there, I mean, that's a different level. So the issue, if you were the Cowboys.
And one other thing on this, too. He said, I know I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. Is that taken the wrong way because he's no longer there? Well, I know I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there because you're not there. You're not there. You're not winning a Super Bowl if you're not there. So maybe it wasn't originally set up to be that way, but you know how things get twisted and gets you publicity. But go on.
Is outside perception, right? What kind of, if I'm trying to attract players to my organization over the coming years, is there now this perception that you can't win the Super Bowl if you go to Dallas? They've won a lot of games. They won a lot of games while Demarcus Lawrence was on their team. Yeah. But they did not win a lot of playoff games. So is there some sort of structural flaw in their building, in the way they operate, that prevents them, a good team, from becoming a championship team? It's hard to quantify that, and a lot of times postseason success can be kind of, a little bit random. But 30 years without being in the NFC Championship game, it starts to feed a perception that there's something wrong there that prevents it. And for a player, a week after leaving the organization, to come right out and say it just flat out, that is not going to help fight that perception.
The one thing I will say, if I'm in that Cowboys locker room, I'm looking at whether it is Tank Lawrence, whether it is Dalton Schultz. These guys are saying that on their way out. So if you have to find a way to continue to push forward and say, you know what, ignore the noise, they weren't saying that when they were in the building. So if I'm a player on that team and you're looking at Tank Lawrence, and some of this I look at, and maybe I just aged out, obviously, from playing, but even personality-wise, at some point you had group chats where you didn't go on Twitter, you didn't go out there in the public, and as a player on that team in that position group, you might would hit Tank Lawrence and like, dude, really? Like, if you felt that way, you were the leader here in this locker room. Why weren't you saying that while you were here?
It starts at the top with the owner having a radio show. Like, he's setting the tempo and the culture within the building.
But why say it when you leave?
I mean, what can you say? You're not emboldened and empowered. You can't say that to the owner. You don't get your marching papers.
I'm going to finish this off with this. Here is the remedy. And we're going to need Brian Schottenheimer to be this guy.
One of my greatest strengths is my ability to create relationships. Relationships that are built on trust, respect, connection. I'm really good with X's and O's, but I'm great with people. And the type of men that we have in this locker room are excited about that. And so I think as we build this thing out, as the culture comes together of this team, that's where I feel like my greatest impact will be felt. With the relationships.
You got a mess.
The ability to communicate. I've always been someone that was very good at having open dialogue, hard conversations, and I've always tried to paint very clear, bright lines. And that's what I plan to do as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
And there you have it. You're going to need it. You are truly going to need to have those relationship building. So we'll keep an eye out, see if the Cowboys do, in fact, sign anybody else today. Today will be a great day to get Calais Campbell, Keenan Allen. We got $41 million and more coming once they get Micah Parsons done. I'm Mark Holmes, and I appreciate you. Peace out.
Can't stand it anymore. I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Stewardess, please let me handle this.
I've got to get out.
Calm down. Now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're one on the phone. Everything's going to be all right.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.